I'm still alive, but barely. I mean, of course I'm alive, but I'm old, and my memory isn't all it should be, but there it is. I am still alive. I was in Nuremberg. I worked for Telford Taylor.
Oh, really?
Well, Telford was... I was in Nuremberg, in Bletchley during the war, and Telford was the head of the American group with us there. And he took a group, including Peter Calvacaresi, to Nuremberg.
Right. Now, how did you find yourself in the military?
Well, I was married to an Englishman who was in the Air Force, and he was killed.
Mm-hmm.
When he was killed, I immediately became conscriptable to do anything that the authorities would like me to do. I was living in Cambridge at the moment, and I had a card telling me to report to the local labor exchange to work at Chivers Marmalade Factory because they had just had a consignment of oranges in from Spain. And I thought I could do better than that, so I joined the Air Force.
Oh, good for you. And how did your paths cross with Telford Taylor?
Well, because we were both at Bletchley Park, the intelligence station. He headed the group of Americans there, and I was working there.
And then one day he decided he got the call to go to Nuremberg and asked you if you wanted to join him?
Well, actually, by then the war was over.
Right.
And I was sent by the Air Force to Frankfurt and was working with a unit known as the British Bombing Survey Unit. And Telford came through, and we had known each other in Bletchley, as lots of other people had, and he invited me to lunch. And he was recruiting people who spoke German to go to Nuremberg with him. And he asked me if I would like to go, and I was bored silly with the job I had. And so I eagerly accepted.
And what was your role in Nuremberg?
I was what was known as a research analyst. I spent most of my time doing what I'd done also as in the British Bombing Survey Unit, and that is reading documents and trying to find things that the attorneys wanted.
And so did you work directly with Telford, or were you was assigned to a different unit?
No, I worked directly with Telford.
And he had the general staff case?
Yes.
So you were right there at the beginning.
I was right there at the beginning. I went down on the 1st of November. We drove down from Frankfurt. I can't even remember. We were quite a party, sort of a large car full, but I can't even remember who was there.
Did your paths happen to cross Gertrude Levenger?
No.
Okay. She was also a research analyst, and I'm sure there were many. It was just...
Masses of them, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
No. Was she civilian? Was she American? Was she British?
American.
American, yes. Uh-huh. No, it didn't. Our paths didn't cross.
So how long were you at Nuremberg?
Now I'm trying to think. I was then sent up to Berlin to the document center, where, of course, we had incredible luck. We found all the Einsatzgruppen papers, which were the subject of the continued trials. And I was feeding them down to Nuremberg then.
Did your paths cross with the likes of Roger Barrett, who was at the documentation part at Nuremberg, or Whitney Harris?
Now, Whitney Harris sounds familiar.
Yeah. Did you ever get a chance to go to, did you ever get a chance to watch the trial itself?
Oh, yes, occasionally. Whenever I could, Telford would give us passes to go in at times. In fact, there's a young man in New York, I don't know whether you have, who was writing a biography of Telford, and he sent me a copy of a picture of me sitting at the prosecution table. We would be sneaked in where we could observe occasionally as a treat sort of thing.
Oh, how interesting. What was your observations of the trial?
It was incredibly long.
Right.
There was an awful lot of detail. There were exciting moments. but on the whole it was like any, I think, court procedure. It's very attenuated.
Did you have a chance to interface at all with any of the attorneys that were part of the trial, whether it was Peter or the British side, or was it the...
Well, I knew a number of them, yes.
Yeah.
David Maxwell, 5. I can't even remember their names. I knew a lot of them, yeah.
Well, David Maxwell, 5. Hartley Shawcross, was he there much at all?
Hartley Shawcross was hardly there at all.
Right. And there was a guy named Jones.
Oh, yes. Oh, gosh. You see, this is where old age tells. Names disappear.
No, I'm maybe a little bit younger than you, but I can't remember what I did yesterday.
Well, I'm 88, so that's not bad.
Well, you're terrific. You're incredible. And I love your accent.
Well, that comes by naturally.
And how long did you stay over at Nuremberg?
Well, almost till the end, not quite, because as I say, I was sent up to the Berlin Document Center.
Mm-hmm.
And I saw it out then, and then I remarried and resigned then in the end.
You keep in touch with any of anybody your paths crossed there?
They're nearly all dead. I've outlived them all.
Oh.
Telford's gone. I'm trying to think if I...
Peter's still alive.
No.
No, he died?
I don't think so.
Um,
Because he was even older than I think. He lived in the same village as I did in Bletchley when we were there.
If you had to fill in this comment, I've asked this to other people, the most remarkable thing that happened at Nuremberg to me was...
Oh, brother.
How would you fill that in?
I'd have to think. Which is always a strain. Well, I think one of the most things that struck me the most was the mere fact that it happened at all, because it was so incredibly complicated with the 4 nations. One could follow, everybody could follow the procedure, because of course there was this incredible interpreting system. You could switch from English to German to Russian to French at will, so everybody could hear. The mere fact that they got attorneys to represent these people, the defendants. I mean, the whole thing was so utterly fantastic.
As you looked at the dock and saw 21 Nuremberg defendants, what was your impression of those men?
Well, of course, the one that made the most impression was Goering.
Right.
You couldn't help admiring him, because he was the one who stuck to his guns. Wrong as they were, most of them, or many of them, were cringing people, just people who were denying an awful lot, but not Mr. Goering.
What about Rudolf Hess?
Well, he was just completely crazy. He was just not in touch with reality at all. He didn't seem to be even partially sane.
And Stryker, he seems to have gotten a lot of impression.
Revolting. Mm-hmm.
When you heard the verdicts, obviously you were not at Nuremberg at that time. What was your...
I was not in Nuremberg at the time. I was in Berlin at the time.
Was there... What was the buzz among your contemporaries about the verdict?
Well, I wasn't in Nuremberg at the time. I was in Berlin at that time.
Right.
So I can't give you any sort of personal thing. contact with other Nuremberg people, because there I wasn't.
Right. Have you ever had a chance to write anything down on your experiences?
You know, I've tried a couple of times. It becomes so boring. I've talked about it, and people say I should have recorded it, but I haven't. I've got to do something before I die, just for my children's sake. To Frankfurt first, and then Nuremberg, then Berlin. I married in Berlin, and then we went to Italy for a short spell, and then came over here.
I'll be darned.
Mm-hmm.
What did your husband do?
Well, he was theatre and music officer in military government. First of all, he was in Bletchley with us, and then he was sent to Berlin as theatre and music officer in military government there. He was a conductor.
Well, thank you, and I will stay in touch.
Not at all, and thank you very much.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
Bye-bye.